see so many faces in front of us today. But would you all join us, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Francine, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Borging?
Here.
Commissioner Dukoski?
Here.
Commissioner Kam is absent. Commissioner Norkin?
Here.
Commissioner Poprock is absent. Commissioner Shentes?
Yeah.
Commissioner Searden?
Here.
Commissioner Silverberg?
Here.
Commissioner Steiner?
Here.
Thank you.
Now we open the program to public comments, and I guess Nick Fotheringham has got a note, wants to speak to us. So Nick, please.
Well, Betty, I hadn't planned to speak rather, so I don't think there'll be a lot of overlap, but it'll give you an opportunity to correct any mistakes that I make and so forth. What I want to do is to suggest that the current costs of Medicare Part D could be lower than they are. Medicare Part D is a result of Public Law number 108-173, commonly known as the Medicare Modernization Act of 2003. Through it, Medicare is expected to spend over $100 billion on prescription medications this year, and Medicare recipients will spend an undetermined amount in addition to Medicare's costs. This law was literally written by lobbyists for the pharmaceutical and medical insurance industries. As a result, it has been very profitable for those two industries. From the perspective of Medicare recipients and taxpayers, the Medicare Modernization Act has three major flaws. First, it forbids Medicare from negotiating lower drug prices. As a result, Medicare recipients pay nearly 70% more for their drugs than VA recipients because the Veterans Administration is empowered to negotiate lower prices. Second, it forbids U.S. citizens from importing drugs from Canada, where such negotiations are legal. And third, it allows a coverage gap, so-called donut hole, in which Medicare recipients pay 100% of the cost of their medications while still paying premiums for insurance coverage that they're not receiving. For 2008, this gap is between $2,510 and $5,726. In addition, this law enables the privatization of Medicare through Medicare Advantage plans. To encourage the use of these plans, they are empowered to negotiate drug prices where Medicare itself is not. However, the potential savings does not necessarily accrue to the Medicare patient. As an example, AARP endorses three Part D plans provided through United Healthcare. One of these plans was identified in today's Star as the #1 plan sold in California, and one Medicare Advantage plan through Secure Horizons. Both of these companies are owned by the same parent company, United Health Group. William McGuire, the CEO of this company at the time its lobbyists helped write the Medicare Modernization Act, was compensated by nearly $125 million in 2005. This is equivalent to the premiums paid by 34,000 Medicare recipients. When he resigned last year under a scandal about backdating his stock options, he received a severance package worth over $1 billion. In early 2007, U.S. Congress attempted to pass a measure to allow Medicare to negotiate lower drug prices. This measure was defeated. Elton Gallegly voted against allowing Medicare to negotiate lower drug prices on our behalf. I think that those of us who are either Medicare recipients or taxpayers should insist that our representatives in Washington correct the flaws in the Medicare Modernization Act so that we don't continue to pay premiums directly into the multi-million-dollar paychecks of CEOs of insurance companies and drug companies. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we introduce our speakers, today's speakers will be Marty Kaplan of Cal State Channel Islands and Betty Berry, who will talk about Medicare Part D. So I'll turn the meeting over to Jim, who will introduce our speakers.
Marty Kaplan has been here many times before. Many of you who watch our program have seen. Dr. Kaplan is a professor at University of California, Channel Islands, and is the director of the Osher Learning Institute, Senior Learning Institute. Here today, I believe, to tell us about the upcoming classes available for seniors. Marty, have at it.
Thank you, Jim and Council, for having me again. This time I come with papers in hand. I didn't last time. No, these are not. This is not a list of communists in the State Department. That's been done. A few people remember that. The Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at Cal State Channel Islands has classes for people over 50. We don't know what to call them anymore because we can't. The word seniors is out. Mature adults sort of works, but many of our people say, I'm not mature yet. And there are those. So it's people over 50. Call yourself whatever you want. We run 3 sessions each year. One in the fall, which finished in October. We have a winter one, which is what I'm here to talk about, starting on January 6th. And then we have a spring one in April and May. Each session is 8 weeks, and we have in each session about a dozen classes for seniors, which run the 8 weeks. They meet once a week for 2 hours each meeting. The classes are taught by experts in their field. Many of them are on the faculty at Cal State. And they're intended solely for intellectual enrichment. They're the sorts of courses when one was in high school or college they wish they could take, but people wish they could take, but they didn't have the time, or they had to take courses in their major, or they had to take courses for a career, or something like that. Now we can take any courses we want. There are no grades, no testing. There is homework if you want to do it. Since there are no grades, you don't have to do it. There are textbooks which you can buy, but you don't have to buy because you won't get a failing grade if you don't. In fact, you won't get a failing grade if you don't show up to one class because you're with the grandchildren or traveling or doing something more interesting, and I can't imagine what that could be, classes. Let me tell you about our classes that we have coming up. First of all, sticking closer home here, your home, not mine, Thousand Oaks. We are returning something we had last spring called A Taste of Ollie, or Intellectual Buffet. These are mini courses. Instead of our 8-week, 16-hour courses, these are 8 different courses, each independent of the other, on 8 successive Saturdays, starting on January 12th. You might say, oh, January 12th. It's coming up very soon. In fact, probably before this group meets again. And let's give you an idea of some of these courses. They all meet nearby. They meet on Marin at the university's continuing education center there, near the Oaks Mall. They were held last spring very successfully. We had something like 96% attendance. That is to say, the room only holds 40 people. We average 38 people per class. So sign-up is people who sign up for these classes is very important. They include classes like whether popular film influences society. Great course, because I teach it. Charles Ives, an American original, taught by, that will be taught by Charles McDermott, who many of you know of. He's the director of the New West Symphony and gives lectures before their performances. Diversity in law, how the law asks for diversity in all means, in all settings. Language difference between men and women. Okay, bring somebody of the opposite sex so you can argue afterwards. A survey of bluegrass music, American heroism, and the Black Sea flood. And these courses, as I said, are held beginning January 12th. That was music from one of our courses. I think it was Charles Ives, if I recognize it correctly. That Charles Ives will be held January 19th. I wanted to hold it in March so we could call it the Ives of March. For that reason, it was turned down. To enroll in those classes, there are a whole bunch of information packets on this desk, including enrollment forms. But the simplest way to enroll would be to call 805-437-2748 during business hours, and you can register by phone. Registration is such that you can register for any single one of these classes at $10 a throw, $10 per class, or for all of them at a discount of $65 for all 8. But as I said, these filled up last spring. A little further from home, we have an evening class. That's the theme music from the class, too, called Archaeology's Greatest Hits. And it's being held on beginning January 9th on Wednesday evenings, again 8 weeks, at the Senior Center in Simi Valley Senior Center. And it looks at some important events chronicled by archaeology, taught, as you might expect, by archaeologists from Cal State Northridge. And then on campus, we have our main course, which is 10 different classes, 8-week classes, beginning the week of January 6th or 7th, whatever that Monday is, 7th. And Tuesday through Friday, we have classes. I'm not going to go through all of them. I've left pamphlets there. But I want to point out a couple of things. One is we do have Monday classes in Ventura. You won't fall off the edge of the earth if you go over the hill. Ventura is down there. Heck, if you're going to Camarillo, you might as well keep going while you enroll and go to Ventura. Mondays we have courses in Ventura, one of which is a course on symphony and opera again by Charles McDermott. And the other is called In the Mood, for those of you who are still stuck in a 78 record groove on Glenn Miller and so on. It deals with the swing era and running all the way up to Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, and the big bands. And Tuesday through Friday, we have classes on campus. Classes are either at 10:30, run from 10 to 12, or 1 to 3. If you enroll in Osher, which is $125 for the entire session, you can take an unlimited number of courses. I want to point out two things, though, our 2 Friday classes, which are kind of new sorts of things. One is a team-taught course on the Harlem Renaissance on Friday mornings. This is the very fertile time, that the 20s, 30s, 40s in Harlem. And it's being taught by a trio of people. One will handle the literature coming from that era, another one the music, Duke Ellington, etc., and a third one the poetry, Langston Hughes, and so on and so forth. So I think it's an interesting sort of thing. The other class is Friday afternoon, French Impressionism and Post-Impressionism. It's being taught by Interactive TV. It's our first course of that sort, and the person teaching it is the education director at LACMA. So we have 4 weeks of that class taught from LACMA. It talks about their collection, and then the 5th week is a personally guided tour of the collection at LACMA. So these are interesting sorts of things. Would there be questions now, or?
Does anyone have any questions for Marty? I would say that there are several of us on the commission that have attended some of these classes, and they really are enlightening as well as a heck of a lot of fun. Do yourself a favor. It's like gymnastics for the brain. Any questions for Dr. Kaplan?
Okay. I'm leaving these over here, these flyers and so on and so forth, and take a few if you have some venue that you can drop them off at, or some groups that might be interested. Thank you.
Thank you. But before we go on, I'd like to introduce Councilmember Dennis Gillette, who's come down to visit with us. Would you want to say a few words?
No, I'm here to listen. I heard Freddie was starring here today, so I was trying to catch part of the show.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, Jim, introduce. Jim?
Well, there's a cliche that you've often heard where you say our next speaker needs no introduction. And in this particular case, it's true. If you're involved at all in the senior community, everybody knows Betty Berry. Senior Concern's a true blessing in our community. Betty?
Thank you, Jim. I'm using the short one because I have to stand on my tiptoes with that one. My subject isn't going to be half as much fun as the one before. No? I'm sorry to say that. And you were absolute with everything you said. Okay, we're going to talk about Medicare Part D, which I can't wait for December 31st when it's all over. You guys are trying to figure out what you want to do. I'm trying to figure out the time to help you do it, and it's getting very difficult. First, I'm going to start a little bit with Medicare itself. I'm sure that you know of these changes, but you realize that the check you get on January 1st will have a 2.3% cost of living increase in it. Anybody not know that? Okay. The average increase is going to be $24. And in the latter part of this meeting, I'll tell you how we're going to take it away from you. Your Medicare Part B premium that comes out of your check is $93.50 this year, 2007. Next year, if you make less than $82,000 as a single person or $164,000 as a married couple, it will go to $96.40. If you make more than those amounts that I mentioned, it will be indexed, and it can go all the way up to $238.40 a month. Okay? Doesn't pay to make a lot of money. Medicare Part B has a deductible that you pay every year on the first amounts that Medicare approves. For, I'd say, 30 years, it was $100 a year. It has been going up, and guess what? It goes up again this year. The first $135 worth of medical expenses you have that Medicare approves, they will approve it but let you pay it. Okay? All right. Now, I just want to ask a question here so I can answer some questions before others. Is there anybody here who is on an HMO or a PPO? Just raise your hands. Okay. If you're on an HMO or a PPO, you don't get a Medicare Part D plan. Okay? It is part of your HMO or PPO. You look confused. Right. If you have Kaiser, Scan, or Aetna, or Freedom Blue, your prescriptions are included in that plan. So what I'm going to tell you about Medicare Part D, you don't really need to know. I mean, it's nice to know, but you don't, if you bought a Medicare Part D plan while you were on one of those other plans, you would lose your medical coverage. Okay? If you have a question later, come see me. Okay. Let's get right to Medicare Part D. Last year, in Medicare Part D, we had, I believe it was 24 drug companies that sold 55 different plans. No, they had 56 plans. This year, we're going to have just about the same ratio. So what you have to do is decide which is the best plan for you. Now, this is very difficult to do. Every plan has different parameters to it. They are all better than the model plan that the government set up. The model plan is you can have a deductible of up to $275. Not all plans have a deductible, but if they do, it cannot be more than $275. It can be less, and there are some that are less, and there are some that have no deductibles, okay? The first batch of drugs that you buy, the first $2,510 worth of drugs that you need, Medicare, according to the model plan, will pay up to 75% of the cost. You pay 25%. All plans must equal that, but plans are better than that. So there you are again, you can't compare oranges and apples. After Medicare and you, the beneficiary, have spent $2,510, we go into this wonderful donut hole. The donut hole is a big hole where Medicare pays absolutely nothing. So you pay full price for your drugs. The government is telling us that the $2,510 really represents where most people will fall. Well, they don't live in California, I can tell you that. Almost everybody that I know gets into the donut hole at some point. You stay in the donut hole until you have personally, out of pocket, including the money you spent before this, $4,050. If you reach that out of pocket, you will then go into the catastrophic section, where Medicare pays 95% and you pay 5%. Now, you got that all clear? Okay? So you can go out now and pick your plan. In order to pick a plan, you really have to do computer work. There is a computer program that is written for this, and the plan goes through, you have to give it the name of your drug, you give it the size of the dosage, how many milligrams, whatever, and you tell us how often you take it. We will key that into the computer if you're not computer literate and come up with a printout for you, which will show you the 3 least expensive plans for you. And then you have to decide which of those plans is best for you. How many are computer literate? Oh, good. I'm going to give you forms. Have you all picked a plan, or are you still trying to pick a plan? Still trying to pick a plan. Okay. I have forms for you today that you can use while you're doing your computer work. I'll talk to the other people in a minute. But a plan that looks like this. Okay? Tells you that you can mark in your drug, forget the manufacturer, we don't care, the size, and the frequency. This is just a handy form while you sit down to the computer, all the information is in front of you, and you don't have to run around 100 different places looking for what you need. Then you just answer the questions, the cues that they give you, and at the very end you will get out, about a half a tree worth of paper that will show you what plans are there for you. The plans that come out are very well detailed. They will tell you what your actual in total annual premium, annual cost for drugs and premium will be for the year. So you got it right there. You're going to spend $4,550 or whatever. They will tell you how much that would be if you bought mail order. Then they will break it down for you if it's a plan that has a deductible. They will show you what you pay in the deductible. Then they will show you what you pay when Medicare starts to pay part of it. Then they will hop over and show you if you get into the donut hole, and I think you will. And then it will jump over if you get to catastrophic and show you. At the very end is a nice little chart. I love charts. It's little squares, and it shows you how it goes through the year. Okay? If you are computer literate, I'm sure that you can take this printout and find out which is the best plan for you. For those who aren't computer literate, you need some help. If any of you, and I'm suggesting this because we are so full up with schedules right now, if you have a child or a grandchild who is computer literate, put them to work. Make them useful. give them the plan and let them do it. All of these young people are computer literate, and it takes about a half hour to run the plan. So they could do that for you, and it would help them learn what's going on out in the world. If you don't have anybody who can do it for you, then you can use us. And I am going to give you a list today of what they call Stop and Shop. They are places where you can go in with your list, sit there, talk to a counselor, and come out all signed up for your insurance. Okay?
I know about that.
Medicare.com, .gov.
.gov, yeah.
Okay. The plans vary. When this started in 2005, we started signing people up for 2006, which was the beginning of Medicare Part D. The cheapest plan, cheapest insurance plan you could get was $5.81. This year, the cheapest plan is $14.20. It goes up every year. The most expensive plan this year is $102 and some odd cents. I don't know what it is. The biggest problem we have is we take generic drugs and brand drugs. Generics are covered very well. Brand is not. The first year, brand drugs were covered in that donut hole by one company. The next year, that company said, well, if nobody else is going to cover it, neither are we. But another company said, gee, if they covered it, they'll probably cover it next year, so we'll cover it too. So one dropped out and one came in. So we did have a company that covered brand drugs. Nobody ever said the drug companies or insurance companies were dumb. This year, nobody is covering brand drugs in the donut hole. So if you are taking a brand drug, when you get to the donut hole, you're going to pay the full price. Okay? Many of them are covering generics in the donut hole, and of course we all know that generics aren't quite as expensive, so it's their advantage to do that. Should you, after you get in the donut hole, should you stay with that plan? I've had a lot of people say, well, I get in the donut hole and I could go to Costco or Walmart or someplace and I could buy these drugs cheaper. You have to look ahead, look at the little chart on the plan that you picked. If you go into the donut hole and it looks like you are not coming back out of the donut hole to get into the catastrophic area, then I say once you get in the donut hole, go to Costco, go to Walmart, wherever you can get them cheaper, because you don't need to accumulate that money in there to get to the catastrophic form. However, if it looks like you have very expensive drugs or a lot of drugs, and you very early on get into the donut hole so that you know you're going to get back out of that donut hole, then I say you must stay with that plan, because you have to buy those drugs from the company to accumulate the money to get toward that catastrophic. And when you get to the catastrophic, it is worthwhile. So you kind of have to play it by ear. But it is an expensive plan. All of them are expensive. I agree with this gentleman who spoke first. It's a shame that we have to do this, but we do. Will we get it changed? Probably not in my lifetime. I don't think so. What have I left out? I've done this so many times I forget what I say half the time. Yes, Andrea.
Isn't there any coverage for the donut hole extra that you can get?
No.
No.
No. People have asked me that. If you take a lot of generics, I would look at a plan that probably covered generics in the donut hole. And, I know what I was going to say. You're not going to like what I tell you next, but I'm going to tell you anyway. There are 4 reasons that our drugs are so expensive. One is definitely the pharmaceutical companies. They are the biggest lobbyists around, and they have Congress in the palm of their hand, and they set this plan up, and until we do something about what the pharmaceutical companies do, we are never, ever going to get cheap drugs. I secondly blame the doctors. Doctors have no idea how much we live on and what the cost of these drugs do to our budgets. Doctors make fairly good money. Doctors probably get all their drugs free from their pharmaceutical reps. But the reps come into them and they push these drugs, and then they push these drugs on us. The third thing that really bothers me and needs to stop is almost every ad on television is a drug ad. And I'm sure we all sit there and say, oh, I have that pain. Maybe I ought to go ask for that drug. Your doctor might not think of giving it to you, but you come in and talk about it, all of a sudden, guess what's going to happen? He's going to give you that drug. And the fourth one, this is what you're not going to like. Everybody sitting in this room is to blame. You do not question your doctors. You go to a doctor and you feel like you are not served if you walk out with no prescription in your hand. You mumble and say to your friend, he couldn't really have understood me. He didn't give me a prescription. If he does suggest something, and it's something new and something that you've never heard of before, question him about it. Ask how much it costs. Is there something cheaper? Is it something brand new that really doesn't have a track record? It's up to you. It's your life. But you need to question these doctors. And most people do not do this. If he suggests a prescription drug that's a brand, ask if there isn't a generic. It's up to you what you're going to get. If you are a fairly low-income senior and your budget is just stretched to the nth, don't be embarrassed to say to that doctor, I can't afford this. They need to understand and they need to work with you. So while I have sympathy for you, are you really doing all you can do to get away from this? Now, having filled out or having looked at a lot of these forms, I do believe almost every senior in Thousand Oaks taking the same 5 drugs. I bet if I took 3,000 seniors and mixed them up and sent them to each other's houses, they could go to the medicine chest and they'd find their medicine right there. You all have blood pressure pills. You all have cholesterol pills. Most of you have something because you're a little depressed, and so the doctor gave you something to get you out of that. Maybe you have a few other things, but there's probably 5 common things. I mean, we could almost run these without even looking at some of them. There are other ways to take care of problems. Make sure if you're taking drugs that you get a new one and you feel something strange. Don't just go in and remind the doctor that, or tell the doctor that you're feeling something strange. He's going to give you another pill to get rid of that strange feeling when probably the pill he just gave you is what's causing it to begin with. Okay? So that's enough scolding for today. There are going to be some stop and shop, or whatever they want to call them. Medicare Part D, I'm going to knock that over yet. One-stop shops that will be held during December. And Andrea, don't look nervous. I'm not going to do the one at Goble. I have 5 stop and shop, one-stop shops in Ventura and one in Camarillo. You don't need appointments to go to these. You can go on the days that are listed here. They're open in Ventura. They're open from 8 to 4. You can go in with your little list. They will take your list. They will run it. They'll come back, discuss it with you. If you want to be signed up, they'll sign you up right there, and you can walk out all taken care of. Okay? One in Camarillo is going to be just from noon to 4. That's a little closer. But again, you don't need an appointment. You may ask why we're not having one here. We are. But it's by appointment, and I'm sorry, it is absolutely full. We are handicapped by the ability to run the programs. We didn't plan soon enough ahead And so we only have 2 computers that we can use. And it slows it down. At these, there are other computers that they can use. Now, you have to make your decision by December 31st. Whatever you decide by December 31st will be what you have for all of 2008. I don't know how many of you remember back when we could change willy-nilly month after month. Oh, I don't like this plan, I'm going to go on that plan. And the snow bunnies and the sunshine kids would have one plan in the winter and another in the summer. We can't do that anymore. They've made us like we are employees. We have an open enrollment period, and then we are stuck for the year. There are a couple of exceptions. Always have exceptions. Okay. If you are a low-income senior, a Medicare, Medi-Cal senior, and you are getting subsidies to help you pay for these programs, you can change every month. Okay? I wouldn't want to be a low-income senior just so I could change every month, though. But you can. Because there may be a new drug that you get that's not on that program, and so you can change and get your drug covered. If you have a Senior Advantage plan, which is an HMO, which in our case here in Thousand Oaks would be Kaiser, Scan, or Aetna, or if you have a PPO, which would be Blue Cross's Freedom 1 or Freedom 2, and your plan has a Part D to it, and all of those do, then for the first 3 months of the new year, you can change from one Senior Advantage plan to another. But you can't go back on Medicare. You got to stay within that. So if you had Kaiser, you have Kaiser in December, and you don't like Kaiser, it's not giving you what you want. In February, you could go to Scan or Aetna or Freedom Blue. But as of March 31st, then you have that for the rest of the year. If you are on original Medicare with a supplemental and a Part D plan, I'm sorry, as of December 31st, you're where you're going to be for the next year. Now, do I have any veterans in the audience? Okay. If you are a veteran, see if you can't get covered by the veterans plan. It is the best plan there is. And you can have the veterans and a Part D if you want. You can have that. Or if you have veterans and later decide you want a Part D, you can do that with no penalties. But for the veterans, if you can qualify for the plan, you see a doctor once a year. It costs you $15. You then get your drugs for $8 per prescription per month, and you can get them by mail. You cannot beat that. And if you were a veteran, you deserve to get whatever you can get. Okay? Now, if you have an employer's plan, some of us come into retirement with employer's plans. That company that you retired from should have sent you a letter that told you that that drug coverage on that plan, if you have drug coverage on that plan, is equal to or better than what you can get with Medicare Part D. If it's equal to and better than, then you can keep that and use that plan, and you don't need to buy a Medicare Part D. But let's go down the line maybe 5 years from now, and your company said this is getting much too expensive, so we're dropping it. You can then buy a Medicare Part D with no penalties because you have been fully covered all this time under a qualified plan. Now, if you didn't buy a Part D plan in 2006 when this started, and you have no other creditable coverage, then your premium is going to be increased by 1% for each month that you did not have a plan. This, I don't know if I can say this on television, but I'm going to. This to me is blackmail. They wanted you all to sign up in the very beginning when maybe you had no drugs or very few drugs and you weren't going to cost them much money, but your money comes into the coffers. So now you didn't do that because you didn't take drugs, so why waste your money? Now, 5 years later, you're sick. Well, they're going to make you pay for not having paid before. I just call it plain old blackmail.
That's right.
Okay. Let's see, have I left out anything important? Oh, if I have any low-income seniors, either in the audience or out in television land, you need to check and make sure what coverage you have. If you are truly a Medicare, Medi-Cal, we used to call you Medi-Medis, now we call you dual eligibles. Anything to make us confused. They will automatically put you on a plan. There are 8 plans for people who are subsidized, and they pay no premiums and no copays. Well, it's very small copays, maybe $1 to $3 for their drug. They will automatically put you on a plan, but you need to look at that plan to make sure it covers what you need. You can, after they put you on a plan, say, this isn't the one I want something else. However, then you are going to pay the difference between what your plan's premium would have been had you paid it and the new one. But I can't stress enough that low-income seniors really need to check to see what they have and that they are covered starting in January. Okay. Do we have any questions written?
Thank you, Betty. I'd like to say something on behalf of the pharmacists. I think that you mentioned that if you get a new prescription, you're not sure what's happening, and so forth. One, the pharmacist properly should give you counseling on a new medication and say, take this, etc. If you're working with one pharmacy or one outlet, which is recommended, so that pharmacist knows what's going on in your medical life. In other words, I'm taking A, B, C, D, and so many, so that if suddenly the doctor comes in and says, how's about, let's try this one, the reputable pharmacist will say, whoops, stop, you better go back to the doctor. You've got a problem of an interaction with drug on drug. So quality assurance starts with the pharmacist. And then once that occurs, then I think you know that you have a problem. So the first person you want to speak with, if you're getting a new prescription and you're not sure about it, is your pharmacist who gave it to you.
Right after you question that doctor.
Right after you question that doctor, right. So I think using one outlet and one, prescription fulfiller is probably good, because everything's in front of that pharmacist and the interaction just pop right up.
Right. And this is certainly stressed all over the place. Going to one pharmacy for everything pays off. Mail order will do the same thing if you go to the same one. If you do what I suggested, because you're not going to get into catastrophic, but you are in the donut hole, then when you go to a new pharmacy, if you go to Costco or Walmart, take with you your list of the drugs you're taking, right, so that they can compare them and see if there's anything that shouldn't be. Also, when you're talking to your doctor, now I know they only give you 8 minutes, but go in prepared. Piece of paper with your questions on it so you don't waste your 8 minutes. But if you're getting something new, is there something I shouldn't eat when I take this? Or also, some of you may be taking herbs or whatever. Those have to be listed also. The interaction is just terrific. You need to know what your drugs do. Now, I know this doesn't sound very interesting, but there's nothing on television anyway. So you should get a drug book and read up on the drugs that you are taking. This is your life, not your doctor's and not mine. You need to know what you're putting in your system and what it's doing to you. The other thing is, sometimes doctors forget, and they never take you back off what you're on, and maybe you don't need to be on it that long. I can tell you a little story that happened to me way back when I first started this job. I had a little lady who was very low income senior, and she was legally blind, and so when she went to the doctor, I was to take her there. And she was getting her drugs from a local drugstore, and she was running a tab and paying it at the end of the month, which is perfectly fine. But something happened, and some money had to be spent for something, and in the middle of the month, she did not pay her bill that month. And in the middle of the month, she got a letter from the drugstore that said, "We will continue to serve you, but it has to be cash and carry." Okay? She ran out of a prescription that cost $110. That sounds like nothing now, but 12 years ago, that was a lot of money. I said to her, "What are you going to do?" And she said, "Well, I guess I'm not going to take the pill." So she didn't. And she went without it for several months. And it was time to go to the doctor, and I collected up all the bottles, and we went to see the doctor. And when he came in, I asked him to ask her how she felt. And she said, "Oh, I feel fine." So he did whatever it was we were there for, and I had all the drugs lined up. And he looked at those, and he said, "She's taking all of those?" And I said, "I'm surprised that you're surprised because you prescribed every one." So he said, "Well, let's go through them." Well, she needed the first one, and she needed the second one. Whoops, the third one was doing the same as the first one. So we didn't need the third one. Well, we got to the empty bottle. And he said, "What's this?" And she said, "Well, I ran out of those, and I couldn't afford them anymore." And he said, "Oh, you have to have this." I said, "Why don't you ask her how she is?" And he said, "I already did that." I said, "Ask her." And so she said, "I feel fine." She didn't need that drug anymore. And out of an income of $800 and some odd a month, that one was costing her $110. So I'm back to, you need to take responsibility. When somebody comes into my office and sits there, my first comment to them is, just because you're 65 doesn't mean somebody's going to take care of you. You need to take care of yourself and be responsible for what you need.
Betty, yeah, I'd like to mention that there are two books I think are very good sources for drug information. One of them is put out by Consumers Union, and the other one is called Best Pills, Worst Pills. And I think if you read those books, or one of them, you'll get the facts on what medicines you should and should not take.
The only other thing I want to add is if you want somebody from HICAP to do your computer work for you, your printout will show the 3 least expensive plans for you. Please do not ask them which one you should take. They're not allowed to select your plan for you. Okay, the question is, if you're not going to be part of this process until the middle of the year, do you have to sign up now? I'm assuming that you're going on Medicare in June or July. Okay. No, you do not have to sign up until then. You do not have to do it now. You will go on Medicare at that point and either have your employer's plan or buy a Part D. You do it all at the same time. You're welcome. Is that what you were trying to tell me?
Betty,
Yes.
could you go over that part where you said that when you're in the donut hole, generics are covered, but brand names were not covered?
Right.
And I'm not sure what the significance of that was, since I thought nothing was really being paid for in the donut hole.
In the donut hole, Medicare pays for nothing. But some of the insurance plans dangle the carrot in front of you like, buy my plan, because I will cover your generics in the donut hole.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Last year we had one company that said, buy me because I will pay for your brand drugs in the donut hole. Okay? So this year they got even smarter than they were last year.
Okay.
What happens to those elderly people who are in RCFEs and run out of money? Where do they go? Oh my. RCFEs are assisted or type housing, and when they run out of money and they can no longer pay the monthly fee, which is somewhere around $3,500 a month, give or take, the only assistance that is available for that type of care is a skilled nursing facility. And at that point, if you qualify, and you probably will if you've run out of money, you can then get Medi-Cal. But other than that, there's no help out there.
But Betty, when that happens, and it's unfortunate if it does, in effect, the system is really putting people into a skilled nursing facility that don't belong there.
Right. One of the things that we would really like to see, and again, I won't see it in my lifetime, but I would like to see Medi-Cal pay for people in assisted care facilities. I think in the long run it would save them money, but it would take those people and leave them in an environment in which they can enjoy themselves and live. You put them in a nursing home, nobody comes to the top apple in the barrel. They all, migrate down to the lowest in the barrel. So it's not fair to them. I have a few suggestions for assisted care, too, but I'm not going to cover that today. Yes.
Betty, I have a comment and also a question. First of all, thanks. I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
My comment has something to do with one of the things you mentioned, and it's commonly heard wherever I go, and that is that drug companies have tremendous number of lobbyists, insurance companies have all these lobbyists, doctors have the AMA, and so on. While that's true, I feel as a single individual somewhat powerless when I hear that, and I tend to not do anything once I hear that. And yet, last time I looked, we still have a democracy, and we still have the largest single really group of people called a large big block at the ballot box that can make a difference.
That's right.
My question is there a watchdog group that can inform us as to the kinds of things that this gentleman, I forgot your name, I'm sorry? Yes, that you mentioned earlier, so that when we do write our congressmen and say, hey, how are you representing us in this way? And we'd like you to represent us differently. And if not, we'll choose to put someone else there.
Do you know of any groups? There are a couple of newsletters that I get, but the newsletters I'm kind of iffy on where they're coming from. But I do think that we need to, if there are no groups, we need to make a couple of groups. We need to get out there and make our wishes known. I would suggest, if you are having trouble with this, let's say you can pay for your drugs, but you're having trouble trying to decide what plan you want here, a letter to your representative telling them what you think about this plan, and please make it nice, will help. For every letter they get, they claim that they say it's 100 people that write that letter. Telephone calls don't work. They just tally those as, a slash on the paper. Emails maybe, but letters, folksy letters in your own handwriting, not a form letter that somebody says, copy this and send it to 10 people. And please make it one page. I am told if you write, Dennis, you're going to hit me now. I am told if you write to a politician and there's more than one page, he never reads page 2. So, well, I didn't say that. But a short letter, so that they can read it and do that. And these will make important things happen, I think. I'm going to write, as a HICAP counselor, I'm going to tell them after this is over, how difficult a year it was to administer this plan.
I think that AARP has a plan called Divided We Fail, which is somewhere along those lines.
Okay.
What is AARP doing, do you know, as a
I haven't been following them, but I have this feeling about AARP. They're now an insurance company.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true. One other question I had was, can I get the information that you gave us someplace so I could make use of it?
Sure.
I also wanted to mention, too, in terms of writing letters, I've heard it works better to send a postcard because we're still living in an anthrax scare era.
Okay.
Yes.
Good suggestion.
And put something in it, it'll be 4 months before it's open when it arrives.
Great.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Good point.
On the outside of something.
Great, thank you.
What? Oh, about the postcard? Suggestion was made if you're going to write to one of our elected officials, because we're still in this terrorist regime, that a letter might not be opened for some time because of anthrax scare. Therefore, a postcard, which can't contain anything, might be the way to go. And it would be short, so they might read it.
Have to be short.
Yes, Andrea?
Besides our local representatives, what about our senior legislators?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But, this is on a federal level, so we want to get it out there. And they do address federal questions. Yes?
Thank you very much. It was very informative.
Okay.
One of them is the Aging Services of California,
Okay.
and that's aging.org. And the members of that organization include providers of services such as hospitals and other health centers, assisted living facilities, but also members of the public, citizens, representatives. The other is the American Association of Homes and Services for the Aging, ASA, and they are very, very active in advocating for seniors and for all of these kinds of issues that we're talking about today.
Thank you. If I can get that information from you later, I can put that in a column in the paper. Okay.
Betty, I was just going to mention last meeting we had June Glassmere was here, and would she not be a good person to contact? If anyone would like she is the representative for the older Californians in Ventura County. She's a senior assembly member, and she has a website which is storymyglas@aol.com. And you can address some of these issues with June, and she will take them to the meetings when she attends the meetings. She's the California senior legislator. Her name is June. Last name is spelled Glasmeier. And her website number name is, her email name I should say, is storymyglas@aol.com. Okay?
How many of you realize that we have senior legislators? We have senior legislators that go to Sacramento. They are elected. There's a number of ways they can be elected. They have to be 60 years of age or older. This year, I think they were elected by the Agency on Aging. Several years ago, there was an election. Anybody who was registered as a registered voter and was over 60 could vote for who they wanted in office. But these people, we have 2 representatives and 1 senator, I think, and they go to Sacramento and they mill around with our elected officials, and they find something or write a bill that affects seniors. They've done a lot of wonderful work. And then they find a legislator that they can get to cap onto this and take this bill through. And it's very important that we know who they are and tell them about the things we want fixed. Now, I just want to close with this. Medicare Part D does need fixing, but I'm afraid of what they might do if they fix it. We've seen how they fixed other things. So we do need it fixed. I do think they have to have the ability to get cheaper prices for the drugs, number one. There's no question about that. And I do think they have to do something with that donut hole. As you pointed out, you're paying for your insurance, but you have no coverage during the donut hole. Okay, just a couple of questions. Because I work for a nonprofit, we go to the cities each year and we ask them if they would please give money to our organization so that we can continue our programs. So I have to count heads and ask you a few questions. Do you know how many people are here? 32. Do you know how many men I have here? Well, let's count men. More men than women for a change. Is everybody here from Thousand Oaks, Newbury Park? All right, I'm going to go down my list then, okay? Because I go to every city. Is there anybody here from Agora Hills? How about Camarillo? Oh, 1, 2, 3. Moore Park? Ojai? Piru? That's a little far. Santa Paula? Ventura? Oh, really? I'll leave Thousand Oaks to last. Calabasas? Fillmore? Oak Park? Oxnard? Port Hueneme? Simi Valley? Westlake Village, LA side? I guess the rest of you are all from Thousand Oaks. Okay, now, that's Thousand Oaks, okay? Well, make note, Dennis. Now, because I give seminars to various groups of people, this first question is probably stupid, but is there anybody here, oh, there is, under 62? Okay, 1, 2, 3. A lot of people. 5, 6, 7, okay. Anybody between 62 and 75? All right, put your hands down. I'm going to go the other way. Anybody over 75? Okay, I can subtract the rest.
Subtract the rest, right? Difference.
Okay. Oh, let's add them in. So how many more? 10?
9 of us.
11 more. Okay.
2 of you.
Okay. Well, if there's no questions.
Well, I have a question, Betty.
Handouts here for you.
Jim has a question.
What is in the handout?
Betty, I do have.
Is a question? Oh, I'm sorry.
I am. If we're getting it, but I understand that if I'm.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay. I hope I have an answer.
Yes, I'm sure you will, and maybe they'll match. Maybe. It has to do with the sophistication of the program that you mentioned on Medicare.gov. You indicated that you input the drugs that you are currently taking and the dosages of those drugs. Now, most of those drugs are associated with some kind of malady that somebody has. And throughout the course of the year, those drugs may change, but are similar. Is this program sophisticated enough to take that into account and look for other drugs, or is it just simply one that looks at what you input and says these are the cheapest ones for these drugs at this time?
They look at what you're taking now.
So people really have no alternative.
And the problem is, we all know that what we're taking in January
Is going to change.
May change in June. Most of these plans, there are 100 common drugs that seniors take. Some people take all 100, I think. But there are 100 common drugs. Most of the plans carry all those 100 drugs. But they also carry other things. They carry the specialized drugs for cancer and that kind of thing. The plans that run, the cheapest plan this year is $14, and I think it's either 20 or 30 cents. It might be great for you now, but with this in mind, it might not be great later. It might not have all 100 drugs. It may only have 86 of them or so on. We are told that if you take a plan somewhere between $25 and $35 a month, you'll be pretty well covered. I don't know because I don't have a plan. I have a plan with an employer. But I am probably the only one in the room who doesn't take any drugs. No. Okay, good. Keep it that way.
And I wanted to know.
Well, no, it won't, but what I would suggest, and I've done this each year, The first year, I had a gentleman who took no drugs, and the cheapest plan was $5.81 or 91 cents. I said, take that one. He gave me an argument. He said, why should I spend $60 a year? I said, because you'll have a penalty if you don't. The $14.20 plan would be the cheapest plan, and if I was taking no drugs, that's where I'd go. Yes, ma'am. Would it be possible for a husband and wife to be on different plans? Oh, definitely. You may be joined at the hip for marriage, but your health plans are different. You may be on different Part D plans and different medical plans completely because you have different needs. Yes?
Veterans, is there a...
Their question is, what are the qualifications for the veterans? There is, if you do not have any service injuries, if you don't have a disability of 10%, 20%, or so on, there is a money cap. But what I say to everybody, whether it's that program or any other program, if you're not sure if you should be on it or not or can get it, go ahead and apply for it. If you don't, you won't get it. If you do apply, you might not get it, but you might get it. And at the Global Center, Andrea, what day does the vet rep come?
Good question.
But there is a veterans representative that comes to the Global Center once a month.
He will actually be there Tuesday, December 11th at 9 a.m. So he's there the second Tuesday of each month.
Okay. It's on Jan's Road, right next to the library. Yes, sir.
I just went through this with our categories that they
right.
can, etc. The thing that you'll need to document that is just.
Yes.
And if you don't have that document, get it going system. But without that document,
it
kind of starts with that document in the.
Just like any other plan, you got to have your paperwork in order, but that's another seminar, another day. Okay, any other questions?
Betty, may I just say that that gentleman wasn't heard on a mic.
Oh, okay.
So it's a DD 214 that you need if you're going to apply to the veterans. That's right.
Paperwork when you got discharged
right.
to show
Correct.
your whole military history. So you need that document.
Absolutely. I had somebody the other day who was putting their paperwork in order, and they couldn't find that, so now they're going to go look for it. Yeah. Okay, what I'm going to give you is, I really want you to look at the cartoon. I really shopped hard for this cartoon. It's pretty good. There is a list in here if you are on an HMO or a PPO, or if you think you want to go. These are the organizations that are in Ventura County. And it gives you kind of what their premiums are and what the co-pays are and whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. This is a little form that I worked up which shows you the donut hole, etc., as to how you fall into the categories. This one is a 2-page, both sides. These are the drug companies that are selling the insurance company or the insurance plans. And it gives you the name of the company and the plan name. Some companies have more than one. We'll give you the monthly premium, the annual deductible, if there is one, what it pays, what generic co-pays are, what the brand name co-pays are. Is there extra coverage in the donut hole? Does it have mail order? Does it provide nationwide pharmacies? And is it a low-income Medi-Cal plan that can be used by those people? And then the wonderful form. If you're going to have us fill out this form, you need to fill out the front side so that we can get it back to you. It does ask questions like gross income and assets. Please ignore those. We don't need them. But we'd even prefer not to have your Social Security or Medicare number. If you're already on a plan, this doesn't have it on here, but just write what plan you're on, and then we can bring up that plan and compare it with the other plans. Okay? So I'll put these on the back table. they can call the if you're not here, if you're out there somewhere, you can call the Senior Advocate's Office at 495-6250, and we'll get them to you. I'll have them at the Senior Center. If any of you do need assistance and you want to go to a one-stop shop meeting, I'm going to put these on the back table, which tells you what days they're where and the directions on how to get there. Those in Ventura are held at the Area Agency on Aging offices, and I have the address and instructions. And the one in Camarillo is going to be at the Camarillo Healthcare District, and the instructions to get there are on that. Okay, I think that's all I had to say. Okay,
They're
not done yet.
Oh, it's not so much a question. It's more of a comment for everybody. The Global Senior Adult Center does have a computer room with internet access, so for some reason if you don't have internet or yours does bleep out, which mine periodically does, you can come on over to the Global Senior Center and access the internet and do what you need to do with those forms as well. And we're open 8:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 8:30 to 5 on Friday, and noon to 4 on Saturday. So there's plenty of time to come on over.
If you come on Saturday, be quiet because they're playing bingo.
Oh, no, not in the computer room. Also, there are December newsletters on the back table back there for any of you who are not familiar and want to go to the center. It's not just, quote, seniors. It's an adult center, so you do have quite a few people of younger ages enjoying quite a few things there. So, or you can stick around and listen to me talk in a few minutes.
I'm sorry that we don't have a one-stop shop here, but we do have one, and I didn't even put it in the paper today because I didn't want a lot of people to rush in and know we couldn't take care of them. So we have appointments set up, and the schedule is full. We only have 2 counselors, and so it's a little difficult to take any more people. It's not hard to get to the Area Agency on Aging, nor the Camarillo Healthcare District. So those are available to you.
Also, I had a comment, and I just wanted to say thanks for everybody being here, but more importantly, we want to hear from you. So if you get a chance, go online, those of you from Thousand Oaks, and fill out that senior survey so we can hear more about what your needs are. And there are some hard copies here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yellow ones and blue ones.
And when you go online, it's just tooaks.org?
Yep.
So Toaks.org. Sorry. Thank you again for coming.
The link after you get on tooaks.org is Council on Aging. If you'll go to that link and click on it, then you'll get to that survey.
This table's getting a little full. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for coming and enjoying Betty's presentation. It's always a pleasure to have Betty come on to our meetings.
You want to have this, and this.
That's for 5 minutes.
Bring it with you.
Yeah.
And they'll sit there, and when you walk out, you'll know what you're doing.
Very comforting. Actually, you don't have to go to the Council on Aging to get to
You're welcome. Didn't mean to pick on you.
Get to the website. We're right, the big word right on the front page. You go to right there on the front page.
I think it's right on the front page.
Yeah. You can't miss it.
No.
I move we take a 5-minute recess.
Oh, this lady said the council doesn't recognize it or something.
Thank you very much.
We'll be taking a 5-minute break.
We do, Betty. Right, we do. Bye-bye.
Christmas was made for children like you and me. If you cross your heart and you own up that you've never quite grown up, and you still get a thrill when you trim a Christmas tree. If it's snowing and your cheeks are glowing and you're overflowing with joy, then I have no doubt that as sure as carols are sung, your heart will always stay young. Big or small, that's what it's all about. So cling to your childhood fancies, fanciful though that seems. Don't let the world go talking you out of your Christmas dream. Hey, bring all those Christmas presents. Opening presents can be fun. Christmas was made for children. God bless us, everyone. Snowing and the wind is blowing and you're overflowing with joy, then I have no doubt that as sure as carols are sung, your heart will always stay young. Big or small, that's what it's all about. So cling to your childhood fancies, fanciful though that seems. Don't let the world go talking you out of your Christmas dreams. Hey, bring on those Christmas presents. Opening presents is such fun. Christmas was made for children. God bless us, every God bless us, everyone. God bless us, every God bless us, everyone. God bless us, everyone.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, Yuletide carols being sung by all, folks dressed up like Eskimos. Everybody knows a turkey and some mistletoe help to make the season bright. And tiny tots with their eyes all aglow will find it hard to sleep tonight. They know that Santa's on his way. He's loaded lots of toys and goodies on his sleigh. And every mother's child will be a spy to see if reindeer really know It's been said many times, many ways. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry
Welcome back. The Council of Aging is back on the air after a brief recess. And now we'll go into committee reports. And I hope our committee members will keep their remarks short and only hit on the most important parts. First off is healthcare. Susan, are you up? Are you in a...
Thank you, Mr. Chair, but we will defer healthcare report today.
Thank you very much.
I would just like, excuse me, I would just like to remind everyone out there, just one quick resource for you. Because of the weather and the winter time coming, that the Commission on Human Concerns, they will give you a free home winterizing service for people that are on low income. So if you feel like you need to have some help in winterizing your home or your apartment to reduce some of your costs for heating your home, please call Alice, and the number is 805-796-6234, and that's with the Human Concerns in Oxnard, and they will come out and assess your home, and it's absolutely free. The service is free. Okay, they can repair your furnaces, your gas stoves, repair broken windows, whatever you need for winterizing. Okay, and the number again is 805-796-6234.
Thank you, Tony. Housing. Is there anything on housing?
I don't have anything to report.
I'd like to make a comment on housing now. I am perplexed that whenever the subject of affordable housing is brought up, a vocal group always comes out in opposition to it. They oppose them even before any of the specifics of a project may be known, since they are affordable housing, which means undesirables, noise, and crime at the very least. They don't seem to care that affordable housing is meant to allow those persons who serve on the police force and fire departments, who serve as nurses and teachers, and those who provide for the many day-to-day services we need, such as store clerks and salespersons, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, and much more. And don't forget our own parents, and much more. And our children who are in need of affordable housing so they can remain in this area close to their families. I am hopeful that when affordable housing projects are being planned, all of us will enter into a dialogue to discuss all the issues attendant to such projects. Moving on to public information and programs.
Yeah, Harry, just a quick note. We were not going to be in attendance in January. In February, I would like to shoot for, if possible, a sort of a wellness panel. I have invited Susan White to talk about nutrition from the county's point of view, but I would like to have input from Susan and Tony as to what we might do in terms of maybe a panel talking about the whole prevention thing, a wellness sort of theme. So if we could possibly communicate, you could sick me on some folks and we could get something going. That's all I have for right now.
Oh, that sounds like a good plan for February. It should be apropos for that time of the year. Outreach Committee.
Thank you, Harry. I just want to bring our folks out there up to date on what's happening in outreach. The program is off to a great start, and the committee is very pleased and excited about how things are going. Just remind everyone the committee is made up of myself, Jim Searden, Gene Borghi, and Susan Poprock. The end goal of the outreach committee is to develop a senior master plan and needs assessment document for the city of Thousand Oaks, so that we can address the future needs of the current seniors and the emerging baby boomers. We have a strategy that allows us to reach out and try to get as many people as possible involved out in the community, current seniors and the future seniors. And the strategy consists of 3 parts. We have a senior survey that you've heard something about today already. These surveys are available at different venues that we are visiting, at locations, in the mall, when we have at street fairs, wherever we might be, where we can interact with the public. We have an online website at toaks.org, and the surveys are available, 1 for the baby boomers and 2 for the seniors. Those of you who come upon these, they look like this. If you see them out in the community or at, wherever they're presented, here's what they are. The goldenrod is obviously golden for the golden years, and the blue is for the baby boomer blue. We have been, the committee has been active in visiting many venues. We have many more planned. We've been at the Thousand Oak Street Fair. We're going to be in the malls. We're going to faith-based venues, mobile home park, assisted living. We've just been there. We're going to another, and the Global Center. In fact, as you all know, we're doing this program in cooperation with the Global Senior Adult Center. The other way we're connecting with people is when we go out and visit them where they are. We have an opportunity for a valuable session on one-on-one conversation with seniors right where they are on their needs and their concerns. And at those venues, we then attempt to survey the seniors. We are planning a community meeting, community-wide, for the entire community to help us in gathering these data on needs and concerns. And this is going to be sometime in April 2008, so stay tuned for that, and we'll bring you up to date on that. We're going to be doing this and trying to reach seniors through the senior news columns in the various newspapers and through media ads. We also have, most importantly, a senior advisory committee that normally will meet the third after our Council on Aging meeting and mid-month meeting, the third Wednesday of every month at 3 o'clock. But because of the holidays this month, we're meeting this afternoon at 3 o'clock following our council meeting. And I wanted to say a very important part of this of the success of our plan is the great support we get from our city liaison Francine Spriggle, who provides very key support for us, and the project couldn't get along without her great support. So basically, we're looking for ways to connect with the seniors so you can tell us what you need. You need to help us help you. We're providing the vehicles and the instruments to allow you to do this. We're going to just spread the word, and we're there to help you. Thank you.
Let me add a little bit of something about outreach, if you don't mind.
Please.
Number one, our last outreach session, which was held at Grand Oaks, was, in my opinion, a marvelous success. We got an awful lot of feedback and got a pretty good idea what some of the issues, at least for those people who live there, really were. Things that we can long-range dig into and try to come up with solutions. Another thing that I found personally very encouraging was the number of commissioners who showed up and helped out. That was terrific. We had virtually everybody except some that we knew couldn't come. So that was a marvelous turnout. We are going to have another one on the 18th of this month. That is going to be at Hillcrest Royale. I've taken it upon myself to act as the program coordinator person on this one, just to see what that really feels like. And so I will be contacting each of you and hoping that you will be available. It's going to be at 1:30 in the afternoon. We will be needing a speaker and a secondary speaker. We'll need people bringing all the accoutrements that go along with this, so I'll be bugging all of you. And I will also be the coordinator with Hillcrest Royale. So, again, one of the reasons I want to do this personally is to get a feel for what we're going to be asking someone to do for that particular position. But that's the 18th, pretty quick. We'll probably try to have an outreach committee meeting, Mel, before that. But that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I just wanted to say is don't be a part of the problem, be part of the solution. Next up is transportation. Is there any report for transportation?
Yes, only one thing on transportation today, and that is the Kaiser shuttle. The use of that shuttle has been increasing, and it is now available 3 days a week versus the 2 days a week that it was available before. It is available on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and the round trip for seniors is still $10.
That little thing about that, as a Kaiser guy, and spent a lot of time there because I got so many ailments, but I noticed that every room I go into has that flyer now. It's out front where you sign up. It's in every little waiting room. There is a flyer about the shuttle. So I think Kaiser is certainly getting behind this.
Well, that's good news, because we really worked hard on that one, and to make it and see it as success, is something that we're proud of. Now we can move on to legislation. No report on legislation. How about fraud? There's always something on fraud.
You may get a call or a message to call a number with an area code that starts with 809, 284, or 876. And the message will give you a good reason to call, such as an accident or an illness to a family, friend, or relative. Or you want a prize. These area codes are for islands in the Caribbean. If you don't know anyone there, don't call. What happens is you get connected into a recording device which keeps talking to you and keeping you on the line just as long as they can as it runs up long-distance charges. And there's almost no way you can recover from that, since it's now a different phone company from the one you normally use. And they probably, while they may try to help you get your money back, you may or may not succeed. This isn't to say that all numbers that start with those area codes are illegitimate. These are really real area codes, just like 805 is a real area code. It's just that certain numbers in there are part of this scam. So if you don't know anybody living in that area, don't call.
You can also have the phone company block those calls from your phone, and there's no charge to have them blocked, and that way you won't be a victim of the scam. And moving on to...
I have one thing to add here, Harry, on abuse. The Long-Term Care Ombudsman Office is indicating that financial abuse, number of cases in long-term care facilities, is increasing significantly. And I understand that it is also increasing in our community. And I'd just like to take a couple of minutes to read some of the indicators that those of you who are in our audience might look for in people that are neighbors or friends or whatever that would indicate financial exploitation. Unusual activity in bank accounts, bank activity inconsistent with the elder's ability, recent new acquaintances expressing affections for an elder with assets, new acquaintances residing with the elder, recent changes in the elder's property title or other property, especially if the elder is confused, power of attorney executed by a confused elder, a recent new will drawn up in favor of a new acquaintance, lack of amenities when the elder can't afford them, missing property, suspicious activity on credit card accounts, forged or suspicious signatures on documents, checks or documents bearing the purported signature of an elder who cannot write, failure to deliver services already paid for, disconnected utilities, elder uncared for, residents unkept, untreated medical or mental health problems, missing pension stock or government payments, missing mail or mail redirected to new addresses, implausible explanations about the senior's finances, and the senior being unaware or does not understand recently completed financial arrangements. Now, unfortunately, when you report these things to either the Adult Protective Services or to the sheriff's station, many of these things are let by the wayside. So I just encourage all of you to continue to be vigilant about people that you care about who are elders who may be suffering from financial abuse.
Thank you, Cliff.
If I may add something to that, Harry, and one thing that we don't really cover a lot, and maybe we'll do later on, is when a caregiver has an in-home support person in, that would be like an attendant. I just want to remind you that if you have an attendant that comes in your home and is helping you or helping your person, remember that they are not family. Although they may seem like family, they are not family. So if you have things that are of value to you, lock them up. Find a room, could be an additional bedroom, have a lock put on it, and lock that room and put anything of value of yours in that room. Do not leave your checkbooks, your credit cards, or anything out. even though this person has been with you a long time and seems just wonderful, and they may be wonderful, but there is a lot of abuse going on in that area as far as stealing and taking things from seniors' homes, and you won't realize it's gone until you're looking for it. So just be vigilant, and remember that this isn't a person that you hired. You're paying for a service. They're not a family member.
Thank you, Tony. Disaster emergency preparedness. Do we have anything on that today?
We certainly do. Tomorrow afternoon, the first meeting of the group that is going to develop the annex for the county's emergency plan. This annex will be the emergency shelter planning for people with disabilities and the elderly. And this planning meeting is starting tomorrow, and the program is expected to last 2 years to develop a plan that identifies people with disabilities and elderly people who will need to get transportation and shelter during a major emergency that might occur in our county or in L.A. County Basin, where people will be coming to Ventura County. So I'll be reporting on a monthly basis about the progress of this, but the program is a 2-year program to develop this annex.
Let me ask a quick question about that, Cliff. Is there anyone from any of these groups that would come out and talk to homeowners groups that are doing the neighborhood watch, or there happened to be one in my neighborhood that's going to be holding a meeting soon, and it seemed like, and the idea of it is to be your neighbor's watchdog, so to speak, and identify areas that need special care during an emergency, et cetera, like that. Is there any potential speakers that you could aim my way, not just for mine, but for anybody else that's doing neighborhood watch?
The direct answer is I don't know, but I will find out.
Thank you. Okay. Gene Borghi resigned as vice chair at our previous meeting, but since we have not re-elected a new vice chair, I'll call on Gene to do the liaison reports. Gene?
Thank you, Harry. For our first short report on Ventura County Area Agency on Aging, Mel Silverberg, please.
Thank you, Gene. Yeah, just briefly, I'd like to state that the reorganization of the Area Agency on Aging Advisory Council into a committee structure is working well. It's starting to produce results. Things are some real good planning is going on, and defining of what kind of work needs to be done. So I just want to say that's working, and I believe by February I'll give a little bit more. Myself and our other delegate, Jim Searden, will give a maybe more complete report on that, on some of the results coming out. But we're very happy with, pleased with the progress there. Thank you.
Retired Senior Volunteer Program, Marty Shentis. Thank you. And for a report on the Global Senior Adult Center, Andrea Koval.
No, I'm not going to pass, but it will be short. There's quite a few things taking place in December, but a lot of things are full, but I will mention them anyway. We are having our annual holiday party, which is Monday, December 10th, from 1 to 3. It is free, and the few tickets that are left, you just need to come in and put your name on the list and take your ticket with you, because there's door prizes and entertainment and refreshments and everything afterwards. So this will be a fun program. We have some of our own seniors tap dancing and doing a variety for us, and we also have a magician and a gentleman who is just phenomenal on the harmonica, along with some jokes. So it should be a funny afternoon. The Rotary Club is doing their annual holiday breakfast on Friday, December 14th. That's also free. It is at 7 a.m., so you have to get up early. All you need to do is put your name on the list, and it's the Westlake Village Sunrise Rotary Club that does this every year, and it's really fun because they do some door prizes. Sometimes they do little gifts for everybody. They bring in really wonderful food, and you get nice and full, and they do some little entertainment. So it's a nice, fun breakfast in about an hour and a half at most. And our New Year's Eve dance and casino night, we're selling tickets. It's $25 per person or $30 at the door. That also includes your funny money to do the casino aspect. There'll be a live band, free pictures that you get to take home, of course the dancing, and then all our refreshments and hors d'oeuvres that we do have out throughout the night. So it is a really nice evening, and people do get dressed up and they have a really good time. And that's from 8:30 to 12:30. So as soon as midnight comes around, you get to have your toast and get to do a dance or two, and then you can go home. We did have our table tennis tournament the other month, and I just wanted to go through and just kind of list off everybody real quick as far as who the main winners were. We did do gold, silver, and bronze. I'll just go through the gold. Richard Myers for men's bracket of 58 to 65. Al Reiswig, he was men's ages 67 to 76. And Ray Mautner, age 77 to 83. And then the doubles category was Dan Porter and David Schmidt. And then they did a single grands champions, and that ended up being Ray Mautner as well. So that was really fun. We had about 25 people. Took all day and lots of good table tennis. And coming up in January, for those that haven't been to an orientation and want to know more about the Global Senior Adult Center, we are doing an orientation on January 16th from 9:30 to 11. And you can come learn about all the good programs and everything that we do have there. But if you really want to come and get information, we also have our ambassadors program, so we can have one of our volunteers call you and have your own private tour and explanation of all the programs and how to access everything there. And our phone number, if you need any information, is 381-2744. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Now we'll go into old business, and I think the old business was the election of a new vice chair. And I'd like to call for nominations.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Jim Searden.
Jim, will you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second.
Are there any other?
Second.
Second. Any other nominations? If not, we'll have a vote. And all those in favor?
Aye.
I guess opposed? None? Jim, you are a new vice chair. Is there any new business before the commission? I'm hearing none. I guess we'll just move on to commissioners' comments. Does anybody have any comments before we close? Susan.
I just wanted to thank Carol Weber from Family Care Cottages for bringing the refreshments to our meeting today. They were delicious. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to.
Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, Harry, just want to remind everyone, I didn't get a chance to say that all senior adults, less than senior adults, baby boomers or whatever, are welcome and needed on our Senior Master Plan Advisory Committee. And if you have any questions or you want to find out more about it, please contact 449-2743, please. And you will we'll give you the information. But it's the community's product, and in order for us to do our best job, we need to hear from you, and we need you to be working with us on the advisory committee. Thank you very much.
This is our final broadcast for the year 2007. We will not broadcast in January, but will resume in February. We want to wish all of our viewers a happy holiday season, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, a Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Kwanzaa. Hopefully we will all arrive and safe and sound into the new year 2008. For a Happy New Year and all that, let's take a cup of kindness for Auld Lang Syne. Thank you, and goodbye for the year.